Have you learned something today? Wonderful, right? Let's appreciate the servant of God one more time for that wonderful session. Yeah, so there's a friend of mine who normally says the best time to plant a tree was when? Yesterday. The next best time is now. So these things, in as much as you may be looking at yourself and you're seeing as if you've gone ahead of time, they can still apply in your life because we have like the future still in our hands, and we can still apply these principles and benefit from them. Amen? So we want to go to questions. I don't know whether, did anyone send a question on the platform that we posted? Gloria, Meshach? Yeah, I'm coming to you. Give Clara. I just want to know if there are any questions that were posted on the...
Okay, my question is about when you were talking about knowing your values, and then you saw these people who are working for EABL driving, and you are using a matatu. How did you feel, and how do you, like when you know your values and you have set goals, but then there's the reality of life that people are advancing, because they don't share the same values. How does that make you feel, and what keeps you going?
Thank you. Of course, when you graduate, the dream of every student or every graduate is to succeed after graduation. But I've realized over the years that in every class, even as a lecturer, it is not the student who got a straight A in maths who becomes the best mathematician in life, or the fellow who graduated the top first-class honors in law who becomes the best lawyer, or a person who was top of BCom who becomes the best manager. Because everybody, like I said, has his own grace. As a human being, I felt a little bit disoriented, and I'm thinking, God, why can't you do something quickly so that they know, let the world know now that you are the Lord God Almighty, the God of Israel. Do it now. There's that urge. You want God to do it now. And they are moving ahead. But the book of, I think it is Psalms, says, do not envy the wicked. Isn't it? Don't envy them. Because their fall may be sudden. So it made me initially feel, God, can't you open another opportunity? I'm sure EABL is not the only organization with cars. And of course, even if you didn't go to ABL and just went to organizations that had similar values, you would realize that all of you would be offered different salaries to begin with. I do remember one classmate who got a job in Masai Mara when we graduated. And while we were earning X Kenya shillings, let's speak mathematically, she was earning 4X. And we were classmates. And so everybody admired that particular classmate. We admired that particular company, and we all were sending our applications to that particular corridor, just in case. So just give us anything up or two, so that we can also get into that corridor. So yes, it challenges your faith. And what kept me going is the understanding and knowledge of the Word of God. Like I said, I grew up in a Catholic family. And at one point, I aspired to become a Catholic priest because they would get scholarships. One, Catholic seminary schools were the best performing schools academically. Two, the fees was like a tenth of what other students paid in other ordinary schools. Three, everybody would pass exams because the class size would be small and you have all the facilities. You are living in a hostel equivalent. Other schools are living in dormitories. In fact, the one I went to was a district school. We were living in a cave, not a dormitory. One long thing that you enter like from that side and you walk, the whole school, all boys in one dormitory, in a straight line, no partitions. And all the Form 1s, their beds are arranged in the aisle, like here. so that if the Form 4s and Form 3s walk in, they know anybody who sleeps in that row is a Form 1. And there was bullying in those days. So the bullying made us become a bit frustrated to go to boarding school. But when you have left and you graduate, please know that your hope and your faith should remain in the Lord. It's God who blesses. It is Him who gives every good gift. And the consolation is that the blessings of the Lord are good and they add no sorrow. Yeah. Clara, that's what kept me knowing, that the blessings of the Lord are good and they add no sorrow. So that doesn't mean the other ones are not blessings. The other fellows could start with the vehicles, and you're given samples, and you have a lot of canned beer in the car, and you can organize sherehe and throw a bash for your friends, and suddenly drinking becomes a habit. Initially it was sherehe, and then you become an alcoholic. And then we meet some 10 years later. Yes, you had made big money, but the money is the same thing that destroyed you eventually. Well, we learned to live with little means, sacrificially, but keeping our faith in the Lord. Knowing that one day, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be, actually, one principle we say that I may not know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. And we believed that all along. At the end, like I said, I didn't go to university I desired to go to. I got a job and worked and saved for 11 years to raise money to go to university and pay for myself. Because I figured out when you rely on people, and I read about Abraham, how Abraham refused a gift from another fellow in the Bible. And he said, I do not want to accept that gift from the king, because when I will be blessed by the Lord, then the fellow will say, if it was not for me, then you could not be where you are. And I learned that at a very early stage. I said, I don't want their money. There were a few uncles who were influential, but they had some wicked ways. And I said, it's okay. It will take longer than I wanted, but I'm willing to wait. I saved money for 11 years. So when we are going to work, and other of my colleagues who are classmates, we got 30 of us who were hired from the same class at Kenya Airways when we joined. And a good number of them were staying in South B. And I was living in Dandora, Phase 3. Because I knew I had priorities I wanted to accomplish. So I had to save to the best I could. It was not a very good thing to tell your friends you're living in Dandora. In fact, I can attest, having lost a few potential girlfriends, because they're thinking, unaishi wapi D? Hey. They even switch the handbag from the side you're seated to this other side, just to be sure it is safe. Because D is a crime-prone area. And it was a painful journey. We had to walk. 11 years later, I have saved up to a particular amount. And what keeps happening? The universities keep increasing fees, so you have targeted that amount for 10 years. And when you get there in 10 years, the school fees has doubled. So at one point, I said at year 11, I think I can't wait anymore. I registered. At that point, there were parallel programs or part-time programs in private university. I registered with half the school fees, and I began the journey. Said, God, wherever it is, if that money gets finished and I have done half of the course, you will provide. If you don't provide, I will drop out. But I started. So I paid the fees. I'm going to work 8 to 5. In the evening, when at 5 o'clock people are going to their houses or going for sherehe, I'm going to school. And it went on and on. And one day, just in the last semester when I had paid fees, and that was the last amount in my bank account, and all my savings plus the current salary, I was now going to remain with 2 semesters. at the workplace where I was working that time, God orchestrated a crisis. They needed to train people on a software to train students in the field of airline management. And in the college, we were only 2 of us who were experts in that field. So we were given opportunity to go to South Africa for training, for 2 weeks training, fully paid by the college. And they wanted to, the target was also to tie the legs and arms of the other guy, because he had been given a scholarship and they figured out he might resign and get a better job. So they wanted to give us this one so that when you come back, then you are bonded for another 3 years. And I had never gotten that opportunity. I was paying from my pocket to study. So I'm thinking, the day I graduate, this employer has not supported my studies. The day I will graduate and I have the degree like this, the speed with which I leave this compound is unusual. So I get opportunity with this gentleman. We're told this course is in Johannesburg. It will be 2 weeks, and the employer is going to pay for all the costs. Because of the vuta ni kuvute, the other guy refuses to sign the bond. He says, you can't take me for a 2-week course that I didn't apply, I don't need. He had a master's I didn't have. So I cannot be able to do that. So if I'm going, I'll go, but I'll not sign any papers to bond me or to tie me to the employer. So the discussions and the dispute went on until the 11th hour when they said we are not going. And then the principal of the college said, no, those guys must go because we have signed an MOU with the organization in South Africa, and let them go. Whatever disciplinary action will be taken when they come back, but they must go. So because it was last minute, we went, and because the employer couldn't book the hotel where we were going to stay, which was an expensive hotel, we were given the cash to look for our own accommodation when we got there. So we arrived at the hotel where we were supposed to be booked, and it was extremely luxurious. And everybody has his own room. So they picked 2 other people because they needed 4 people to be trained, 2 others who are not even experts in that field, to go with us and learn. So when we were in South Africa, we were given the money to pay for the rooms. And I remembered I have 2 more semesters to go, or else I'll drop out. I said, God, these guys have given us US dollars in cash. We have 4 rooms. We wake up in the morning and go for training and come back in the evening. So we don't even use the hotel rooms. I said, come on, we were 2 gentlemen and 2 ladies. I said, come on, guys, let's do this. What about if the 2 of us as gentlemen use 1 room, because it has 2 bedrooms, and the ladies also use 2 bedrooms? Don't we save the money for 2 people? They said, yeah, but that sounds good. Said, do you want me to find out from the receptionist whether that is possible? I said, yeah, you find out. I did. And they said, yeah, it's possible. In this place, we just charge per room. We don't charge per person. I said, come on, guys, from tomorrow, we don't need the luxury of 4 rooms. We're here for training for 2 weeks. So we are saving money for 2 rooms. The next thing, we're not going to eat hotel food for 2 weeks. We will go out. This is a furnished hotel, a suite with a fridge, with cookers and everything. We'll go to the supermarket and shop what we would do and cook. And we'll be cooking for ourselves and eat what we want and save. And that time I had gotten this sister who had touched my heart. I had told her a few things that was also touching her heart and her life. And it's 2 semesters to go. So I bought my wedding suit in South Africa and everything and the shoes at half the price. Higher quality, half the price. And there was still money left. And I came back, I paid the fee balance for the remaining 2 semesters from the savings. So yes, the Lord has a way of working things out. It may look like an accident, but the Word of God says, all things work for the good of them that love God. It's not that all things are good, but they work for the, yes. So please take note. Not all things are good. Sometimes kuna character development along the way. unachapa moja pa, it's for the good. Improve some shock absorbers for a season ahead of you that you would require. Thank you. I think have I answered your question, Clara? Yeah, thank you. They have avoided the other part of the system. Some people are looking like, can you say something about the system? No, that will be in another Kesha. Yeah, this one I was told to talk about the career, so I'm moving on the career side only.
Yes.
Any other question?
Yes.
Sorry?
I have a question.
Yes.
2 questions.
Okay.
So the first question is, currently you see maybe there is an overload in terms of specific careers. You would get like now everybody knows we are moving into IT. Everybody goes to IT. Others go to maybe public relations and these other careers. But you get, after that, when you come to the actual field, there are no jobs. So what would you advise a youth who maybe has done, okay, even the guys who are doing medicine currently, you would get hospitals are not taking everyone.
True.
So what would you advise? Because somebody would say, nimefanya hivi, I just want this job. But again, remember there is all these things that you have planned. I want my life to go this way. Is it okay? Or maybe can you advise us if it's okay? You can start with a different career where you get an opportunity and make your way to getting your career. Is it okay that way?
All right.
And then my second question would be, what would you advise a youth in terms of saving? And when is it okay to start saving? Because sometimes we think when we have so much, more than enough, that's when we save. At what point will it be proper for a youth or for someone who is working to save?
To start saving.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Career jobs. There is the issue of which job should I be able to take. And that's why I was emphatically repeating that the sons of Issachar knew the times in Israel and always did the right thing that ought to be done at the right time. I think Bishop was talking about seasons and understanding our seasons, and it's the same thing, that it's important that if it is the rainy season and you didn't buy the clothes that align to the rainy season, even if you have that set of clothes in your wardrobe, you'll have to wait until next year, maybe same time. So sometimes you graduate, you have this career, and the job market does not seem to have enough opportunities. Should I take up any other job? My first job after high school, before I started my career journey, was an office messenger. I did office messenger. I worked in the CBD. I worked to Upper Hill, to UN, and every place. And it made me know Nairobi thoroughly. First job, messenger. Did I want to be a messenger the rest of my life? No. It was the only opportunity, because what I was stopping is I didn't want to be an adult who still has to go back to my parents, ask them bus fare to go to town to meet Ken or to meet Tom or to meet Jen. So I said, whatever little I do, I would rather ask them to add what I have than to sit back and feel helpless. I would never advise you to be idle when you graduate, even if a job opportunity is not in your line. If there's an opportunity, please take it up. That opportunity gives you another chance to grow your network. And an important thing in career development is building your social network. Your social network is your social capital. Connecting with other people in your field or even outside your field will make you know about the developments at the workplace, the developments in your career line. Whether they are job opportunities, sometimes you may even have in this era WhatsApp groups of IT guys or machine learners, isn't it? And so you just wake up one morning, somebody has posted there's this job vacancy. Like I'm in forums for hoteliers. And so I wake up in the morning. Sometimes I forward opportunities to Alan. Please share with the youth, isn't it? Because of that connection. So it is okay, pick it up, because you never know where your blessings come from. It says, cast your bread among many waters. It's a very important principle. Because you do that in the morning, you do that in the evening, because you never know which one will bring returns. Sometimes you may have done IT, and you find you've looked for an IT job and you didn't find. And I have seen the one dramatic one of a qualified economist. He was a very sharp guy. We were with him in high school. He was ahead of me by 1 year. He went to University of Nairobi and did economics. Very sharp guy. He looked for a job in economics he didn't find. The job he picked up was a security guard at Kenya Power and Lighting Company. That's what he could get. A graduate. He worked there for, I think, over 1 year. One day, when he is standing at their building next to the boardroom, because the senior managers were having, I think, a workshop. So this security guard is watching, and they are discussing these forecasts and economic things to do with economics and models. And a watchman is standing there, and one of the senior managers gets stuck. And he moved close to the guy after they came out for break, say, can I try and help you? Because he was stuck on a laptop. And he did it in a very short time. The manager got curious. A security guard dealing with economics models on my laptop in less than 2 minutes, and other senior managers were unable to do that. So he got curious. So what is your background like? So he narrated that his background was economics. He had done economics. He had looked for a job and couldn't get opportunity. So he opted at least to do something that will put food on the table. And that's why he was a security guard. The manager said, please see me on Monday. Bring your papers. And he was hired. He works with Kenya Power as we speak. Yeah. So don't despise the humble beginnings. Sometimes you can do that, but don't do that to get stuck and get comfortable. It is a transitional moment for you as you look out. The next question, at what point should you start saving? I would say the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, and the next best time to plant is today. If you haven't started, start today. Anybody who grows wealth grows it by saving what they are earning. And then when they have saved an amount, they invest what they have earned to multiply it. So if you do not save, then you don't have money for investment in your life. And the temptation would be the day you want to invest, you will take a bank loan or a SACCO loan, and if anything goes wrong, hey, you will be auctioned at a very young age. So the best risk is risk with your savings. The worst you can do is you can only cry because of what you have lost and nothing more. But if you have to take a loan and then you invest, you will cry twice. Unalala na upande ya left, unalia, tena ukikutana upande hii unalia. So don't. So the best time to start saving is when you get your job. Saving is a principle and a practice you must have. The same way you are not having a job, but the principle is for every income you get, 10% you pay a tithe. Isn't it? So make a principle that from your earnings, a minimum 10% goes to savings. And start on day one and see how dramatically you're going to grow your life differently. 10% as a principle. Regardless of the amount, 10%. Make sure that you don't touch and build it. When it gets to a particular level, then you can make a decision as to whether to invest, because that is how it multiplies. Savings alone will not grow your wealth, because when you save, the banks will give you some, what percentage? Yeah, per annum. It won't get to? No, 12, it's a single digit, that I know. it's not even 10, probably 7 or 9 thereabouts. And then they do the taxes, and the same money that you're giving them, they work on this principle that if Yvonne wants to borrow money, they give her your savings at 18% or 17% interest. And make sure, Alan, you don't get to come and ask for this money while Yvonne is using it. And they have forecasted that over the years. So that is a principle. That's why if you wake up in the morning as a customer of a bank and you say, hey, this bank is about to collapse, guys, pick your money. That bank will for sure collapse because they never have all the money. The savings is what they loan to other customers. What you brought in, they have looked over the years, they know probably if you have 100 shillings, on average, it's only 30 to 40% of the customers who come for their deposits. So there's another 60 to 70% that is always lying idle in the bank. So that is what they trade with. They use your money, they give to somebody at a higher interest. Then when you come back for your savings, they give you the 7% minus withholding tax. You get some 5%. So the saving culture begin on your first job. Don't ever say, unajua hii pesa ni kidogo, wacha nifike level fulani ndio nianze. Before you get to that level, kuna housing levy that was not there last year. Ujengee watu wengine nyumba. Then wataongeza NHIF. And the price of bread will increase. The bus fare to work will increase. So you'll realize, last year, when your salary was 50,000, your net, after you did all these things and the deductions, you could remain with 20,000 or 30,000. But the following year, with exactly the same amount, because of the cost of living changing, you have to pay more bus fare for the same distance, and you now realize your ability to save or to remain with the money you can save is now 10,000. The cost of living never goes down. When I was in high school, cost of bread was 1 shilling 50 cents. Pocket money was 50 bob. And from that 50 bob, there was bus fare for me to go back home after the schools closed. If mom came to visit you and he added another 100 bob, you are a millionaire in Kenya shillings. Yeah. Actually, we used to remove, you're given 50 bob, and even there was a 5 shilling note, bank note, and 10 bob bank note, and 20 bob bank note, and then 50, then 100. So 100 was kind of the highest. So when you're given 50 bob, you looked for lower denomination, picked 10 shillings, and inserted in the back of an exercise book cover as you're saving. That was your piggy bank. And you knew it would be intact. At the end of the term, you have some 10 bob. Now, somebody gives you 1,000 bob for pocket money today. The price of bread, which was a sacred commodity in boarding school, is over 100 shillings. So you're talking of 10 loaves of bread. If you eat, it means if you eat regularly, within 2 weeks, hauna thao imeenda. So saving must be a mindset. It's not an issue of the quantity of money that you have. It's a mindset. If you don't develop it at the beginning, you will struggle to ever create it later, even with a lot of money. That explains the reason why even people who earn large salaries, members of parliament, 1 million per month, he stops being a member of parliament today, and 2 months later, he's a broke fellow being auctioned. And you're wondering, really? I earn 1 million and then I become poor? How? And there's another one who earns 50,000, has never been poor. It's about your mindset. How do you use what you have? And that's why the parable of the 3 servants, one was given 5, another 2, and another 1. And the Bible adds quickly, each according to their abilities. So it is not the position of the numerical value of the 5 or the 2 or the 1. It's more about the attitude of each one of the servants regarding what they have that determines the value of the final value of their investments. So saving culture, if you haven't begun, begin.
Thank you. One more question in
Okay.
terms of what you've just said.
Mhm.
So, if you would advise us as youth,
Mhm.
would we rather save in banks or save in SACCOs? Because I think, as per what I have looked at, I've seen that SACCOs give you more in terms of dividends and rebates, but banks hazina sana. So, what would you advise?
Banks
us to
in
do?
swag,
Or banks in
in
swag?
swag too, and because your employer also will ask you for bank account details where they take your salary, so you open a bank account. But like I said, you put your money there and they give you 5% or 7% interest. And when you go to apply for a loan, they say, please give us a copy of your pay slip. Okay? So that we look at what you're earning backwards before we give you. A SACCO or a cooperative means you're bringing together people whose aim is to pool their resources and take advantage of their numbers. So the money the SACCO has or the cooperative is a collection of all your monies, and you are like a shareholder of that company. So at the end of the year, the SACCOs would also be encouraging the members themselves to take loans. And their loans would be of lower interest rate than the bank. And it doesn't change mysteriously because it's the members who change the interest rate through the AGM. So you are sure if you picked the loan and it is 14% or 12% interest, it will be 12 until you finish paying. Or until the day an AGM is held and you're also part of the AGM. You can decide that is too high for the members. And for those who don't want to take the loans, the interest rates that the other people who picked the loans are paying, it will follow you as your benefit, even without you having to ask. And you can choose to increase your savings by reinvesting the same dividends, or you can say, let me choose that one now. Let me reward myself for being a good person who saves. 2, if you are to take a loan, the SACCO will give you 3 times more than your savings. So if you have saved 100,000, the SACCO will not ask you for a pay slip. They will just ask because it's a requirement in the financial world. But they're saying, what is the value of your saving? 100,000. So the maximum you can take is 300,000. And so part of the interest rate you're paying the SACCO is the same dividend that they will give to the members, and you are one of the members. So part of what you're paying, you will still be given back in the name of dividends. So the best approach, SACCO would be, I would recommend, if you want to save big money, put in a SACCO, but choose a stable one that is properly managed, so that they don't sink with your money. The other wisdom is you can choose. If you're not confident about their behavior, always make sure you have a loan with the SACCO. So you have 100,000 savings, pick a loan of 150,000. And make sure you invest where it will grow. The easiest option for Kenyans is to buy land. You do nothing on the land, and another fellow builds in the neighborhood, or a road, tarmac road passes there, it's a prime property. You have done zero work, the value of the land goes up and appreciates. So you bought it at 300,000. After 2 years, say the value of the land is now 600,000. You can never get that kind of interest in a bank. Thank you. And for those who want to read a little more about how to create wealth, you can read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a very small book like this. 7 enduring lessons for wealth creation. Classic. The Richest Man in Babylon. Like a small book like this. Finance for non-finance managers. No technical, no stories, just the wisdom. Okay, ancient wisdom. You want to do fish business? Talk to fishmongers. Don't go and talk to fellows who are selling cabbages about fish. Basic knowledge. It sounds straightforward, but it's very rare. Wewe unauliza your friends, but nilikuwa nataka kununua kwanza hii business ya fish. Unaona ni mzuri ama? A fellow who is advising you is sharing a lot of his ignorance with you. Just like we benefit from WhatsApp groups. Some fellows who are not experts are busy sharing ignorance with the others. And others are busy forwarding ignorance to other people who are ignorant. And so there's a lot of ignorance that then circulates on social media if you're not keen. So pick that and see. That's one of the basic principles.
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. Go ahead.
So, a friend of mine is asking,
All right.
is it okay to join Wash Wash? And is it bad? Because apparently, the youth are looking for the quickest way to make money, and apparently that is one of the best, or maybe the quickest. So, is it wrong? Asking for a friend. Is it wrong
All right.
to join Wash Wash? And somebody is also asking, another friend is asking, why don't they pick in turns?
Why don't they pick?
In turns to teach them how to do it.
The wash.
Yes.
Wow.
Wash is money laundering. Washing cash.
Yeah, wash is money laundering. It's simply getting money from a legitimate source and then trying to clean it to make it appear legitimate. For instance, a fellow who is selling mihadarati, amechukua packets za cocaine, he's been paid 5 million. If you try to walk with that money into a bank account, they look at the track record of the job you do, you normally have probably 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000 per month. And then from nowhere, you arrive with 5 million cash. Before the bank puts that in the bank account, they will ask, what is the source of this money? So crafty fellows do what they're calling wash by looking for a legitimate economic activity. Like let's say, Alan, nilisikia uko na plot pale Katani. So uniuzie? Say yes. Then I pay you cash. So na wewe ni shauri yako. So ukipeleka kwa bank ikikuuliza umetoa wapi 2 million, you'll say I sold a piece of land. So you can see now I'm hiding behind your legitimacy. And then after you sell me the land, I can go to the hardware and start constructing a building on that piece of land without going to the bank. So the money is outside the system. Nobody can know how illegal it is. And then now I get tenants into the house. Then they can send rent to the bank, and the bank will not ask me funny questions. Because now they ask you, where is the money coming from? I'm a landlord. What is your problem? So you're asking, is it right? Look at the type of original activity that you're making money from. And that's why I say the blessings of the Lord are good and they add no sorrow. These ones of wash. Sometimes we may have the privilege to see you on TV. Kumbe yo dada alijifanyanga mzuri na hey, umeona news ya leo, breaking news. Ama huyo ndugu. In fact tunaanza kusema kimndugu. Si ndugu sasa ni kimndugu. Kilikuwa kinajifanya. So the issue is, if it is not legitimate, like we say, ask what is the damage of that business you are in. You make, like the biggest money you would make, let's say you're doing drugs. 1 packet of cocaine and you're already in millions. But how many lives are you destroying with your profit? And not knowing how that will destroy the entire society. One day you may be privileged to have one of your own children or one of your brothers or one of your family members using the same drug that you are selling secretly out there, not knowing that your brother is also looking for them secretly. And then you come back home and realize you destroyed the life of your brother, but you're a millionaire. Would you feel nice? No. Or you're dealing in illicit arms trade, selling guns and selling risasi. And then you're making big money. Then you can clean it through wash. But then one day, one of your family members gets shot by the same thugs who bought the same guns, not from you or from other dealers like you. How will that make you feel? Do you feel like a hero? No. So there will always come to a time when you will sit down and reflect and realize money is not everything. Like I said, my last job before I went into teaching, I cut the story short a little bit because of time. I did do my first degree, and before I did the first degree, I had done like about 5 diplomas. Until I got tired of the diplomas, I said, so what else is there? And then I did the first degree, graduated, and it was in a private university. I felt, is this the dream I've carried for 11 years? I don't feel like it was not a big thing eventually when I have accomplished. I felt some form of emptiness. I'm thinking, it really made me yearn to have the degree, but now that I have, is this what other people feel and they make a big deal out of it? I said, maybe let me try the master's. Maybe master's people feel differently. So I applied for the master's, started doing it halfway, and then I said, so walituzuia tusiende university because of this one cut-off point, this one. But when we are in this master's class, sioni kama kuna watu wana struggle hapa na niko victim because I had this one less point. In fact, there are other fellows who are suffering, and they are saying they are coming from their university. So we finished. I said, maybe the private university degrees they're saying half-baked. I said, let me apply and try and do another second master's in a public university. So I did. And which university did I pick? Nairobi University, which couldn't admit me some 15 years ago from high school. So I graduated. I said, really? Let me try to see how a PhD feels like. Googled, checked through, and I said, I want to do the PhD in the best university on the continent, not just in any university. I think the Lord had brought me from far, and I was feeling, I am not just going to graduate, thank God Almighty, I am done. No, I must graduate nicely and properly. When I look back and say, if it was not for the Lord, I would not be where I am. And so I picked 3 universities from South Africa: University of Witwatersrand, University of Johannesburg, University of Cape Town, and University of Stellenbosch, actually 4. Sent applications all at once and sat to wait. Who will respond first and under what conditions? And then the University of Stellenbosch and Cape Town responded, I think, in a record 3 days. And I asked another question, they responded within the week. University of Witwatersrand responded after 3 months. The other 2 never responded until today. So I chose to go to the best business school in South Africa and in Africa, in Cape Town. And to that extent, like I said, remember, I'm still guarding the principle that I don't want those uncles and relatives who felt that they want to define your destiny to participate in that destiny and say, if it was not for me, you would not be where you are. I still made my own savings and paid all through all those courses. That would be money. When I did the totals, I would imagine maybe ningekuwa nimenunua kaproti mahali. So ningekuwa niko mbele kama wale wengine. So it's an issue of your priorities. And I said education is the factor of production which has no diminishing returns. Alan understands that language from economics, isn't it? It is the only factor of production that keeps appreciating over the years. The value of your knowledge will never diminish the way you would use the value of other factors of production. So Brenda, I hope I have answered for your friend. No, that is criminal. Actually, there's no thief who is not creative. In fact, anybody who has to be fraudulent needs to be smarter than an average person to scam you. Have you ever found a fellow, like this evening I'm coming from work, and I was with a friend, I was dropping them along close to Cabanas. In a petrol station when I'm waiting, I see 2 young ladies. And they're standing, just outside the Pizza Inn. And then I was on phone, so they walked to the other gentleman, say, Abari, we are missionaries and we are praying with people. We wanted to pray with you. Hey, missionaries. Say, those ladies look like Kenyans. So, and you look like you stay here in Imara Daima. So you're just praying with people randomly. I said, okay, that's interesting. So I continued speaking on the phone, but I was listening in, and my friend looked at me like as if he was waiting to see if I'll approve of the prayers. So in my wisdom, I continued on the phone longer than normal so that this conversation can end on its own with him, that I don't get involved. So the point is, they would easily, if they are fraudsters, they would need to think a little bit over what an average Kenyan will think. Ndio uingie box vizuri. So if they are printing money, I would not call it creativity. Let's just call it what it is. It's the other guys who would be very fraudulent and use a lot of creativity. The pyramid schemes, Ponzi schemes, where they say, unajua unaweka 3,000, alafu after 2 weeks unapata 10K, na ni ukweli na unapewa. So go and recruit others. Isn't it? Unaambia bada hii kitu ni ukweli, si fake, si kama zile zingine. Hii nilipata, hata ndio hii. There's one when I was working called Desi. And that particular one became so popular that it was even advertising on TV. And one guy who we were working with came with the evidence in the office. I mean, you take in your money and it multiplies. They give you 3 times. So he put in 100K to test. He started, I think, with 25. He got 75. He banked. He banks to confirm whether the check is legitimate. He checks the statement, it's 75. He took another 100 to test. 300. He banks, it is genuine. He went on until the last check he got. That time, there was no upper limit of 1 million to write checks. He got 2.5 million. He said, hata nimenunua plot Muthaiga. He recruited fellows in the office. I was doing my MBA. And I told them, I've done a class in finance, and there is a basic principle in getting returns. If you invest anywhere with highest returns, any business with highest returns must have the highest risk. So if you see any business where the profits are abnormal, please be aware that that is a very risky business. You can either make very good money or lose everything. They asked, so how are these guys affording to pay people 3 times the amount? So, these guys invest in, they said, offshore markets, London Stock Exchange, then Tokyo. They said, well, I've also done a degree in international business. And I know that the offshore markets like London, Tokyo, New York, they are more developed stock exchange markets. And the risk is lower because they are more organized. So there's no fraud. So the interest rates are very small, but the volumes are large. So there's nowhere in the world where you can get that kind of interest unless it's drugs. I said, no, you don't know me. I know I have done it. This fellow is a brother in the Lord. He convinced, and that organization, by the way, for you to work there, you had to be born again. So everybody, from the country director downwards, it was a Christian NGO. All of us, we are born again. So this guy comes and inspires a few people. They put in their money. There was one brother, he comes, he was actually in high school with me, 2 classes behind me, and we were working with him. He went to the village, and he sold his house. He wanted to surprise the wife with a new house. A house of, the value was 2.5 million. He needed a quick sale. He sold it at 1.5 million so that he can bring the money to Daisy. And he would know he would make 4.5. So immediately he placed in the 1.5, the thing collapsed. It collapsed. He had sold the house without consulting the wife. Yeah. Because he wanted to surprise you on your birthday. Yes. Don't say hi. He wanted to surprise you. Yeah. So, if the interest rate is, if you can't understand the movement of how this money is moving from this seat to this seat to become 20 bob, please don't invest there. Invest in something simple that your heart and your mind can manage to explain. When you grow to the next level where your heart can take a bigger shock, then you can move to the next level. Thank you.
There's another question
Yeah.
about betting. Like someone is asking, is betting wrong? And it's not like they're addicted, and every time they bet, they win, but they don't do it just like when they feel like, and they're in a tight sport, and then it comes through, like sometimes you need money for rent, you don't have, and betting in Akuokolea.
Okay.
And then also maybe working as like in the financial department of a betting company, customer care. How is that?
How is that? What? Can you ask the question fully so that
That's the
in terms of it like I said, it depends on your values. Do you feel the conviction that for me, working in this betting company, we are not forcing you to bet. You're making your own choice. Actually, high-level betting is an analytical game. Fellows who have done machine learning, is Wanda somewhere? She's gone up there. Are you able to forecast the bet and the movement of the bet in a way that you can actually earn money every time? Yes. It is in mathematics called probability. And probability is just a mathematical game. So it's like when they say if you have a coin, what is the probability that every time we toss it, you'll get the head? So after it has been tossed, you see the pattern, and they use artificial intelligence or algorithms to predict the probability that it would fall on the right side. So doing it at that level is mathematical. But there's this other level where people are doing by faith, trusting the Lord to move in a way that it will give them favor. One thing you must know in terms of social behavior, betting is addictive, just like smoking or drugs. So once you love making this quick money, unless you want to make it your career, it's very difficult for you to break it, because you can imagine, you place your bet, you win, and you pay rent. What would be your motivation to start struggling to board a matatu to go to town, to work every day, and you're paid 30K at the end of the month? If you can bet 30K, Arsenal wanachapa Man City, and you pick your money and move, and you're doing that because of experience. And there are sites that actually they're calling the betting sites that say they have done the probability for you. Yours is just to buy the slot, pay a particular amount, and they predict for you. And how do you think they're making their money? If they are seeing how to become millionaires, why do you think they're being so kind to you to tell you, come, we show you how to make the million, but pay us 1,000 bob. We show you how to collect the 1 million. Do you see there's some illogical arrangement that they also must be having a way of making money from you? That's why they are calling you to go and look for that money. But if you're doing the analytics and it's based on some logic, it is work. And it is very focused. Like I know that's what the banks do with exchange rates. So they can actually trade with your money and buy Forex in another location in Singapore. When you're sleeping tonight, the fellows who are doing Forex trading at the back, the ABSA or Equity, can actually trade, buy dollars in Singapore or London at 9 p.m. and wait, because they have seen how the thing is going. Hata ikisonga to 0.2. And they are picking this money and trading with it overnight. As long as asubuhi mukiamuka hiyo pesa imerudi, they have made their money. But what happens if it goes in the wrong direction? The principle is God should multiply the work of your hands. And if he's blessing the work of your hands, then you will not be forced to pick a game of guesswork in terms of whether it will go left or right.
Maybe what I would want you to elaborate more is for example, when
Yeah.
you're talking about betting, I can totally understand because at one point I was approached on LinkedIn and asked by a betting company that does like the casinos, but then they're thinking about it product development. And because now I deal with product development, they saw my skills and they're like, will you be willing to work for us and just try probably analyze the market, how it looks like and all that. So for my thinking is probably I'm at the back end. I'm not really betting, but then now I'm being given a job opportunity, probably to analyze for them the market.
Yeah.
So probably what I'll say probably, to me I'll say probably betting company, and I'll say no.
No.
But then to somebody else who's looking, for example, they are looking for a job, they don't have a job, they are seeing it like, this is an opportunity that has come.
Okay.
The same way you have told us that we need to identify the opportunities. So probably to them, this is an opportunity, and they're seeing that they're not actually involving themselves directly.
In the actual betting. Like I said, it is about your conscience. I would not want to put a mathematical straitjacket figure and say the following companies, do not work with them. I would rather say, because salvation, the word of God says, let everybody work out their salvation with fear and trembling, isn't it? So, pick up your salvation and, like I said, the pregnant lady, there are those who will tolerate garlic and they are pregnant. There are those who will say, please, hata jirani asijaribu kutumia kitunguu kwa hii plot. Right? Because if anything happens on that line, they will quarrel. And there would be others who would say, yeah, for me, I prefer taking an evening walk regularly, every day. The baby just inspires me to want to walk in the estate. So they go around Nya Estate several times and they're pregnant. And there are those ones whose pregnancy is delicate. They must not make unnecessary movements, otherwise they lose the baby. So to me, my concern is that you get into an engagement that does not make you lose your salvation. Don't lose your soul because of a job. If you can secure your soul, then use your own judgment. Does that help? So that it's not, because if you're feeling well, my part is I'm an accountant. I don't do the betting, but I'm an accountant in a betting company. Do I have peace in my heart about this or not? Because at the bottom line, when we come to church, we receive tithes and offering. If you're a pastor, you ask the member where they brought the money from. No. Isn't it? If there was a prostitute in the house and they brought their tithe, they have not told you that this is tithe from prostitution. Right? This time, the lady who broke the jar of alabaster oil. And what did the other fellow seated there tell Jesus? Hey, that perfume is expensive. It's 3 months equivalent of earnings. That lady has wasted that thing cleaning your feet with it. If he sold that perfume, he would help the poor. And Jesus said, the poor will always be with you. Isn't it? Why wouldn't he say, yeah, it's true, let's sell and help the poor? So I would not, like I said, not say the following companies, please remove. No. I would say you have the scripture and the word of God with you. Do you feel any conviction that what you're doing is right or wrong? Is your soul secure where you are? Because even in an ordinary organization, there could also be other activities that are detrimental to your soul. Even in teaching, for instance. We are teaching, and somebody fails the exam, say, Mwalimu, can you see how you can help me? Nitakuchotea kitu. Isn't it? Ordinarily, it's an organization would say it does not affect your soul, isn't it? But your interactions and opportunities for you to lose your salvation are there. Yeah. So can you secure your salvation and your soul in the place where you are? If you can, go ahead. So don't resign just because it looks like it's not a good place. But I can imagine if I was in marketing and I have to be the one to convince you to smoke, and I'm thinking, boss, then I'll be the following week doing door-to-door evangelism, telling you, praying for deliverance for you, saying, quit this habit, it's not good for you, my brother. And when I go to work, niko na stock nimeweka kwa parking, the samples. Isn't it? Contradiction. All right. Any other question?
Mine was just a comment.
Okay.
There's something Brenda was asking about careers being absolute. And I just wanted to comment on it. Maybe some careers not having, you do a course, then there's no job right now. But I wanted to comment and say, sometimes it's not that there's no job or opportunity. It's just that that career that you did then, how do you, because right now it's all about IT. So it's you finding out how what technology can you add to that career and make it relevant. For example, if you're a teacher, you're used to teaching in class. Now, you can also do online tutoring. There are kids, let's say in Italy, you can do that. If you're a farmer, you can look at automating your processes. If you're let's say, a counselor or a psychologist, you can advertise your work online. If you're a marketer, instead of doing the let's say, face-to-face marketing and sales, you can look at utilizing the online space. So it's what do you do? There's technology, then there's you. Whatever you did, you think it's irrelevant, but it's relevant. It's just that you need to apply some technology to it to make it relevant. But there are other courses that are now irrelevant. So first analyze what you did. Is it that there is no job? There might be job, but it's up to you now to look for technology to apply to it, make it relevant.
Thank you. I would put it this way. When you pick your course, seek to understand what the market wants. What is it? What is the existing need in the society? Okay? And so whatever career or skill I am developing, I can commercialize it by responding to the problems of the society. For example, if I realize whenever it rains in Nairobi and the ladies have gone to work and they didn't know it will rain like El Nino is going to begin, Kenyan ladies love their hair more than anything else. True or false? They love it in such a sacred way that they are willing to pay anything to secure their hair. I had a workmate who was a Japanese and she was a lady. One day she was in town when it rained at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and suddenly she saw a lot of ladies coming out of the buildings with white pepper bags on their heads. That time, plastic peppers had not been banned. So she wondered, why are people putting on plastic pepper bags on their heads? He said, they are protecting their hair from the rain. What do you mean? He said, yeah, just that. They are more careful about their hair. So if you realize that the trend is that people want to secure their hair, what are the solutions you can actually invest in? One, of course, you can buy umbrellas and sell to them. The other, you can develop or design a product that can cover their hair that is easy to pack anytime they go to work. Other times, because they also love their high heels or their shoes, you can have a plastic thing that they can insert their feet and they don't spoil their shoes during El Nino, instead of carrying gumboots, etc. So that way you must seek relevant careers. It is not that there are no job opportunities. In fact, in Kenya, statistically, the problem and the greatest challenge we have in Kenya is not general unemployment. It's what we call structural unemployment, where you have very many qualified people in particular job type or skill levels that the market does not immediately service. And then there is need for a category of employees who do not exist in the market. You go to the village, try to build, or even here in Nairobi, you want to build a house. Where do you get a qualified mason? What is the process? Kuuliza mtu mwingine mwenye ameshaijenga kama anajua fundi. We were struggling even in church to do the wiring of this place. Do you know of any electrician? Wacha tutauliza. And there are many young guys who do not have jobs, but they have a degree. If you give anybody this church to do wiring professionally, whatever they will charge you in 1 week is more than a salary that a graduate will earn for a whole month. True or false? True. You've been in the council meetings and you see how much we pay. So it looks like a small job, but the value of what you will get out of it, that is the Kenya's greatest tragedy. The young people have been pushed to believe everybody needs a degree. And even during our time, we were doing that because you would do a diploma and then you'd be jobless. So you'd say, let me try, maybe ni upgrade kidogo. Maybe ni hapo mbele nitapata job. So that's how we kept moving and moving and moving during our season. And unfortunately, that problem still recurs. People with degrees, you go to a university, you do a degree that the job market does not need. So if you come out, you are few of you who will be blessed. The others remain jobless. Thank you. I think I can stop at that, isn't it? So that we don't convert the whole night to one program.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we can all put our hands together. Yes.